this is this whole thing about wine tasting, that when I'm trying to teach people about wine tasting, try and make it personal. So as soon as I tasted that wine, it's not, it's quite peary, but it's going back to my mum's stewed pears when I was a kid. And so much of, you must find this, Amelia, that so many, when you're trying to talk about wine tasting, so much of what you go back to is what life was like when you were a kid, maybe what life was like when you were a teenager. By the time you get to an adult, you've smelt and tasted almost everything in your life. And the things that are going to make you, as a, I don't know, 20, 40, 50, 60-year-old adult say, that's a lovely flavour. It's going to be a memory, which is from when you were 6 or 10 or 14.
And actually, that's where you get a lot of your references to, because didn't you say that you're kind of your mother's little helper?
Again and again and again.
And making sauces, and you did a lot of gardening. And
because we grew up in the country. My dad was a chest physician in the coal mines, and we never had any spare money. And we lived out in the middle of the country. And my mum's job was basically to run acres and acres of orchard and garden, sort of carrots and potatoes and every possible kind of vegetable, and a couple of hothouses and a pig and some ducks and some chickens. That was my world. They forgot to send me to school. I didn't go to school till I was about 6.5. I mean, I don't know how they got away with it. Because you're supposed to go to school at 4 or 3 or I was just my mother's little helper. So all my life was about running the garden, picking the vegetables, looking after the vegetables, checking out when the plums or the cherries or the apples or the pears were ready, bringing them into the kitchen. The kitchen was my centre, because that meant day by day I was in and out of the kitchen. And of course, the morning might start with fresh, simple flavours. Although she was a baker's daughter, so there'd be some bread being baked a couple of times a week. And that's just one of the greatest smells in the world. Sometimes you get it with a barrel-fermented Chardonnay. Sometimes you might get it with a sort of lees-aged champagne, which has been given 10 or 15 years age. Possibly something like a Chenin, if you're really lucky in somewhere like South Africa. But it is, again, it's one of the great, great smells. You say, fresh baked bread. But what I mean is probably the fresh baked bread that my mum was making in our kitchen.